Hey, everybody. Guy here from Chit Chat Podcast. Thank you so much for continuing to listen and support the podcast. I just got done recording the podcast with Josh Kaeter of Eminent Coffee. This was a really fun one. I often am kind of providing coffee or whatever for the podcast, but Josh roasts incredible coffee at Eminent, and he brought coffee, and he made it while we were kind of sitting here, and it was very, very delicious. And getting to hear about his passion and love for coffee, something that I love those conversations. I love talking about coffee. I love talking about small business, and this small business happens to be in coffee, which I also love. But it's super, super fun conversation. Excited for you to listen to it now. Thanks for kind of joining this community and coming along for the ride. We really, really appreciate it. Josh, thanks for coming to join us on the Chit Chat Podcast. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
All right. So we're going to talk coffee quite a bit today, but often I'm providing coffee, but today you brought coffee. Would you tell us what we're drinking and how we're doing it today?
Yes. So I brought one of our current limited releases. It's a Columbia Natural. Probably can't read that from there, but it is grown and processed by Sarah Toban out of Antioquia, Colombia. Comes from Unblended Coffee Importers, one of our longest standing import partners. They got a big focus on younger coffee producers because it's a big issue right now, specifically in Colombia, is that all of the older farmers starting to retire and their children have no interest in it, or they can easily make more money heading to the city and going to college and getting a job after that. Different. So they're trying to reinvigorate the Colombian youth into coffee farming.
That's cool. Really, really neat.
Yeah.
And you said it's a natural?
Yes, it's a natural process. It's actually one of their experimental lots. They do a whole bunch of different programs, again, to get the youth back involved. And this was one of the winners. So it's a dry fermented, 120-hour dry fermentation process. So no water used in the fermentation. Extended, obviously, to 120 hours, which probably gives it a little bit of right on the edge of wininess. I'm not a huge fan of winey coffees, but this one's just right on the edge, super red, syrupy fruits.
Cool.
Almost to red wine. So
fun. Well, I can't wait to have some.
Yeah.
And we're using a little Chemex here.
The tried and true.
That's right. Old Faithful.
I used to do this every single morning. And I'm going to do this blind because I can't see.
Yeah.
And then I got another brewer. It's actually like a little batch brewer. And at this point, I'll swear by that thing. So these are more left for special occasions now. But
what kind of batch brewer did you get?
So it's like mimicked after a mocha pot.
Yeah.
But it's literally like a third of the price. Phenomenal.
Cool.
Absolutely phenomenal. You just hit go. It's got a bloom function on it.
Really? Cool.
Every morning at this point.
What's it called?
Brew Simply Good Coffee, something like that. Now that we're talking about it, it'll pop up on your ads.
That's right. Well, sweet. So speaking of coffee, Josh, you run Eminent Roasters in Sartell. Tell us a little bit about it. How'd you get into it? Why do you love coffee? Yeah, help us get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely. I'll probably go find myself on a tangent here.
That's great.
Specifically with this story. But yeah, I've always kind of been interested in coffee just from a young age. Used to drink it with mom or whatever. And then throughout the years, obviously got deep into it while in the Marine Corps. But obviously that wasn't good coffee. I call it, still to this day, call it motor oil.
Yeah.
Same color, consistency, flavor profile. And that's kind of probably where it started. And then, once I got out of the Marine Corps, started drinking
better coffee.
Yeah. And then found like one specific single origin from one specific roaster and was drinking that for the longest time. Absolutely loved it. Every single sip tasted like rich, hot chocolate.
Fun. Who was it?
Oh, boy. Boyer Coffee out of Denver, maybe.
All right.
And it was a single origin Colombian. And then one day it just changed. The flavor profile changed. And then I thought it was me brewing it wrong, so I did everything I could to try to replicate it, and it never happened. And then I think that's what sparked it. And I started deep diving reading and found out that maybe it was a different harvest season. Maybe they just switched the lot, whatever it was.
But so something about your
that was the seed, I think.
Yeah, that's really fun.
That, and I figured out that it could have been like the roast profile. Maybe it was a Friday, and they just left it in 30 seconds too long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that was the seed that was planted.
Huh.
And then years again down the road, no prior experience in coffee, never worked in coffee. And I was finishing college in South Carolina and needed, part-time job or whatever, something to do. And I found a local roastery that were just about to move into their big flagship. At this point, it's their flagship store. And they were roasting, serving everything out of like less than 450 square feet. So tiny little footprint. And I was like, okay, these guys are probably going to need help. That's my in.
Cool.
So walked in.
And
I want to learn how to roast coffee.
And what roaster was that?
That is called Knowledge Perk Coffee in Rock Hill, South Carolina.
Cool. Okay, so really quick, before we jump back into coffee, how long were you in the Marine Corps?
5 years.
All right.
From 2011 to 2016.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Were you deployed at all in that time?
Yes. The summers of 2012 and 2014 was deployed to Helmand Province, Afghanistan.
Okay.
Both times.
And so when you're saying you're drinking motor oil coffee while you're in the Marines, was it while you were deployed? Is that where you were drinking, or is that just
yes
all
and
the
no?
time?
Most
you're in
of
a
it
barracks?
was like field ops preparing to deploy. And then on deployment, it was, I'm going to say Red Bull, but the can had a tiger on it, and it was called Bed Bull.
Okay.
We got them from like the local Afghan bazaar. Just nasty looking foreign energy drinks, like Chernobylis, if you ever seen Hot Tub Time Machine.
I have not.
That type of stuff. And that was what kind of clicked. It was like, I should probably not be drinking this.
Yeah.
So then switched over to the blasphemous Starbucks instant.
Yeah. Could you get that on the base? And like where when
No,
you're in
that I had to
Afghanistan?
have sent in like care packages and stuff. But yeah, for the most part, it was those nasty energy drinks on deployment, and then again,
some instant.
back in the U.S. and like training exercises, it was just instant.
Yeah.
And it was always cold because it was 120 degrees in the desert.
Yeah.
At all times of the year.
And all
So I would
times of the
just-
day too, right?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. So you'd wake up in the morning and you'd just be drinking hot, cold coffee.
Yeah. All right. So got out of the military and then finished your degree after
Yes.
in South Carolina. How did you end up in Central Minnesota?
I mean, I was born and raised here. So
okay.
Graduated from Sauk Rapids in 2009. Went to state for a year
Okay.
before the Marine Corps. And that was kind of this, it was always in the back of my head, like that's probably where you're going to end up.
Sure.
But I was like, I better try college. Didn't do great.
Sure.
And just further solidified that path. So yeah, I did that for 5 years, ended up back here for 6 months, and then promptly left again.
To South Carolina for school.
All over the place. Denver, Texas, and then South Carolina. Just kind of nomading it, just running around. That was another 5+ years of my life, just kind of floating around doing that. And then finished college, learned how to roast, all that stuff. Was head roaster for that other company out there. There we go. Final
Did we
pour.
get it?
Yep, we're there.
Nice.
And then life kind of changed rapidly. My mother died unexpectedly. Some other things in my life were happening at the same time, and I was like, all right, I think it's probably need to go home. But didn't want to stop roasting coffee, and I definitely didn't want to use my degree. So I was like, well, what do I do?
Yeah. So the name of the business, the name of your roaster is Eminent. Tell me about the name. How did you come up with it?
I get that question a lot, believe it or not. I wish I had a better story, but I was literally like waiting for something to come to me. Had the roaster in the garage set up.
Oh, the actual machine. You already had the machine.
Roasting coffee. Didn't have a name for the business.
Great.
But I just knew
Yeah.
this is what I'm doing. And I don't remember where I saw it, but I randomly came across the word. I was like, oh, that rolls nicely off the tongue. And then I Googled it, the definition of the word.
Yep.
I was like, okay, I think that makes sense.
Cool.
Into the next question, what does the word mean? And I always mess this up. Respected or revered within a certain sphere of profession. So I read that and I was like, okay, that's makes sense to me.
Yeah.
You
Cool.
know, I'm not just trying to roast coffee,
Yeah.
commodity grade coffee, anything like that. You know, I'm trying to highlight the work
Yeah.
of these producers and these farmers. That makes sense.
Cool.
And it stuck.
That's really fun. Really, really great. And what year did you start? What year did you start not roasting coffee, but start here with Eminent?
Late 21. So I think it was very end of October that the roaster showed up in the driveway. Giant crate, biggest thing you ever see in your driveway.
And then you have to figure out what to do with all of the wood and all the materials around stuff like that.
Yep. Funny story is my dad actually saved the wood and he like used it for the back of one of his trailers because it just fit perfectly. It slid right in. Yeah.
Perfect.
And he's got piles of junk. He's, typical old man. Like he's got a piece of wood for every project.
That's right. Because you might need it.
Exactly.
You might need it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good. All right. Well, sweet. Can we?
Yes.
It's still dripping. Still dripping a little bit there.
It'll drip for a while here.
All right. And so you love coffee. You care about coffee. You want to do coffee really, really well. Have you had a chance to go on an origin trip yet?
Yes, and that was the other part of the secrets. Like I said, abruptly had to move back home.
Yeah.
Was head roaster of that company, and like I didn't really tell him much of what was going on.
Sure.
So in the meeting where
Is this like after your mom died?
yeah. So in the meeting where they knew that portion of it. In the meeting where I had to sit him down, like, guys, I gotta leave, like, and pretty quickly here.
I'm going home.
Which I thought was gonna turn into like a sour, we don't have anyone to replace you.
Sure.
What are we gonna do? We were just about to open our second cafe at that place, in the town next over. So I sat him down, and they're like, "Oh, we get it, but it's a bummer we never got a chance to go to Origin with you." And they're like, "Wait, what are you doing in the next like 2 weeks?" Pulled out a computer, and they're like, "Yeah, in the next 2 weeks, what are you doing? Are you gonna be here? When are you leaving?" It's like, I don't know, 30 days. They're like, "Okay, we're going to Panama."
Wow.
So in the meeting when I quit the company,
That's
we
really
bought
cool.
plane tickets to go
That's
to
really
Panama.
cool. What a neat thing.
Yeah. So yeah, I did that. Literally right as I was leaving that company, went to it was an Origin trip. So the whole point was to go to a farm. Did like a first legitimate direct trade on the farm to the farmer, cash in hand. Carried the last 25 pounds of his harvest from that year back through the airport, getting questioned the whole way, like, what else is in here?
Yeah.
Like, scan it, man. It's a vacuum sealed bag of green coffee. Brought it back, and then the last couple of weeks that I was there, like, sampled it,
Yeah.
roasted all 25 pounds, and sold it as
That's really
the
cool.
last.
Your
See you
little
guys
last
later.
hurrah. That's really cool. And if you do you have any like kind of bucket list origin trips that are still in front of you?
Yes. A ton of them at this point, and it's more or less just a time type of thing. Definitely Colombia.
This is really good. This is really, really tasty.
To visit all of the, anybody that has, had our coffees, our limited releases before, to visit all those farms and farmers. So that's probably number one. Guatemala importer. They want to take me down there. Same with Honduras. And then East Africa as well. Rwanda and Burundi.
Yeah.
They want me to come visit them out there too. So
Yeah.
I got a laundry list.
Big list. Do you have a favorite, not a favorite country, but do you have a favorite country to drink coffee from?
Yes. I would say right now it's probably Panama, and that's just because of that experience that I've had.
Yeah. That for sure. Stuff like that can easily affect, how we think and feel about things like that.
And it makes it better that like that 25 pounds that we bought, it was a geisha lot. Like it wasn't just here's a washed whatever. It was probably one of
his best
competition grade green coffees. So that helped quite a bit.
For sure. I even think about like some of my favorite, like if I'm thinking about my favorite food or my favorite restaurants, stuff like that. It's hard to parse out or kind of decipher like experience, like just like the whole night, like that meal was incredible. It was really delicious. Right. But it like the company that I was with and like what we were celebrating, like there's so much that kind of goes into that.
The setting.
Yeah. For sure. I love East African coffees. Love high elevation, really bright. Those are, by far my favorite. And
Bright, fruity, and floral.
yeah, I would love to get to East Africa for coffee. Yeah, it'd be super, super fun. I mean, I'd love to go to all those places too, but for me, there's something about East Africa.
Yeah, I was. I mean, that never crossed my mind until I brought a Rwanda in. Just seeing where it came from, like on the shores of Lake Kivu, I believe it's called. I probably messed that up. But it's just absolutely breathtaking. It's like, wow, this is.
Yeah.
Imagine drinking coffee there.
Right there.
Next to the drying bed.
Yep.
Like,
it'd be great. Sweet. So you have been a coffee roaster now for a few years, 3 years ish, right? 2021.
Well, with this company.
With Eminent.
I think I started in 2019.
Okay.
So whatever year we're in now, 5 years.
But I guess I mean Eminent is 2 + 3 years old.
Yep.
And you guys are getting ready. You are getting ready to start a coffee shop. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes.
Yep.
St. Joe. The new food hall.
Called the House.
The House Food and Tap is going to be the
building
name, the surname, whatever we want to call it. And then within that, there will be four separate businesses.
Yep.
So 3 full kitchens, full restaurants, and then full service coffee bar.
Fun.
Which is where I'll be hanging out.
Yeah. Cool.
And obviously some more people.
Yep. Is a date set? Like, do you guys have a good gauge yet on when it's gonna open?
Not a day date.
Yeah.
But if everything else goes according to plan right now, we're looking at like early March.
That feels like it's coming quick.
Yeah. I
Cool.
keep telling people I'm going to go to sleep and wake up and I'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah. Cool. And you won't do any roasting out of there, right? Will you keep roasting in your current location?
Yes. So yeah, there's just unfortunately no space in the building. We're already pretty crammed in there as it is, as much as I would love to just roast out of there because that adds to the ambiance.
For sure.
But yeah, as of right now, I'll stay in the current roastery location. Hopefully, once the new spot is up and running and on its own, I can pull back a little bit and refocus on finishing out the front of the roastery space and getting that open up as a tasting room, micro cafe, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that.
Cool.
If I can roast a little bit closer to the people place, the cafe spot, then that's always a plus too. But it's close enough as it is right now. So
we're exploring right now a bigger and better roasting space, and then the question is, okay, so we've been looking at some stuff, and then it's like, do you put like a tasting room is really, really fun, but how important is it, and what should it look like, and what should it feel like? But yeah, it obviously feels important, but the roasting facility itself has to be the thing that's
right.
Yeah, the most important. As you're getting ready to like jump into the coffee shop thing, do you have a favorite like coffee shop memory? Like why do you love coffee shops, and why do you want to do it?
Just something warm about them. I don't know what it is. Yeah. It's almost like wherever you are, if you're in a coffee shop, in a coffee house, cafe, it's warm, it's inviting. There's just something about it.
Yeah. When I was in high school, for me, it was the meeting grounds downtown. And as I was thinking about this, I thought about meeting grounds, and this is maybe like a little too like extreme or something, but I think I kind of became an adult there. It was like I got my driver's license, and it was the only place I really wanted to go. But like I wasn't going out. I wasn't like going to restaurants. I wasn't really like. I wasn't going out at night. It other than to the coffee shop, I would just like bring my book or my like homework or whatever.
Just going to hang out.
It's the place that I went. It was like it was my first place that wasn't my home,
right?
Or like an activity or something I was doing for school or whatever. Like I elected by my own power and my own volition to get into my car and drive to what place, and it was to a coffee shop. And so there's just something so fun, something so fun about coffee shops, and super
Safe
fun,
and comforting, and
yeah. I also love like when you can run into a friend that you haven't seen in a long time, and you say things like, let's grab a cup of coffee sometime. There's just something so fun about how coffee brings people together.
And you can do that any time of the day.
And you can, yeah. I mean, if you have some caffeine sensitivities, maybe don't do it super late. If you're going to, you might be up super late, but.
That's what they make decaf for.
That's right. For quitters. for straight up quitters. At Kaeter, we made a sticker that said decaf is for quitters. And again, the irony is rich. You know, like I drink decaf most of the time. I am thoroughly enjoying my non-decaf, my caffeinated coffee right now. But we had someone that was really angry. Really, they expressed serious displeasure. A couple of people with the sticker. And we just pointed out, we're like, there's also a shirt that says, give me coffee or give me death. Like we don't mean it. It's just a joke. You know, it's just a silly joke. But people get kind of intense.
They get peeved. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not wearing the normal T-shirt, but I've got a tattoo that says "Death Before Decaf."
Whoa!
Until I found the current decaf that we're carrying,
and you're stoked about it.
And I'm like, it doesn't make sense anymore.
It's still a fun. I mean, that's still a fun. I mean, if you're gonna have a coffee tattoo, that's a pretty fun one.
Yeah, a little skeleton guy bathing in a coffee cup.
Yeah.
Death Before Decaf.
When I first asked you about coffee, you had mentioned your mom. You mentioned that drinking coffee, you know, your first something about drinking coffee with your mom. And then you started this right after she died. Does coffee feel like a connection to you with your mom?
Subconsciously, I think so. Yeah. I've had that thought multiple times. But yeah, I think subconsciously it probably does for sure.
Yeah. What does your dad think about the entrepreneurial bug, and does he?
He loves it. He wants to be my next roaster.
All right.
He's just waiting to retire. He's like, I can't retire quick enough. I'm going to come work for you. It's like, okay, man, like hurry up.
Fun.
I'm waiting.
All right. Cool. I mean, maybe tell me a little bit more, like some of your first coffee memories. Like it feels like so often, you know, people are like, oh, my grandpa drank this like sludgy black coffee. And I just remember being at his house and, you know, like the smell of it. And like, what's your kind of early memory with coffee?
Probably the very first iteration of K-Cup machines.
Okay.
Again, with mom.
Yeah.
And like, I think they might've been flavored, or maybe it was just, we were putting like
French
vanilla, whatever it was, creamer in it. But I think that's probably my first memory. And you know, I was pretty old, not pretty old, like 10, 12 maybe.
Yeah.
But I can't really pinpoint anything before that. So that was probably the first one.
Yeah.
And then the black tar sludge out in the desert. That's the next one that comes to mind.
Man.
Specifically drinking it like, okay, I know I need this to stay awake because I haven't slept in days, but I can't do this.
But this is hard.
This is
hard.
We need something a little bit better.
Yeah. Get me a bed bowl.
Yeah. I would take a bed bowl, or a standing rock was the other one. I will take that straight to my veins before I have to drink this.
When you're drinking coffee, do you enjoy black coffee? Is that your deal?
Yep. Yeah. Even with like espresso based stuff, it's probably just a straight shot of espresso.
If you're going to drink something that's not, you know, like straight black coffee, what's your favorite little treat in the coffee world?
Cortados for sure. Yeah. And it's not really a treat. It's just milk and espresso.
But it sure feels like a treat.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's probably it. I'm simple when it comes to that.
I think that the cortado, for those of you listening, the only difference between a latte and a cortado and a cappuccino is just like the amount of milk, you know, steamed milk in it. I think that a cortado is, the ideal.
I think
ratio. It is the perfect amount. If you're going to introduce milk into it, I think it is a really great ratio.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. And the little cortado cups, they're so cute. You know, there's something so nice about it. It feels coffee shoppy.
Yep.
You know? Yeah.
Like I'm not going to get 20 ounces of whatever. Yep. Like
whole milk. Yeah. It's an interesting thing. In the coffee shop game, you know, so much of what you sell is actually milk. You know, it's a
we're in the milk business.
In the milk.
We're milk
in the milk game. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Well, sweet. What are you the most excited about for your shop?
Definitely having a consistent spot to serve the community. That's been the biggest thing.
Because if you're just roasting
currently, I mean, because at the end of the day, I'm a roaster, right? Like Monday through Friday.
Yep.
That's what I do. I'm a roaster. Yep. That's why I prefer black filter coffee or straight shots of espresso.
Yep.
Because I'm trying to pick out those specific tasting notes of that specific coffee.
Yep.
And that's hard to do.
Yeah.
When it's drowned in milk. So yeah, that's the day-to-day thing.
Yeah.
But I also need to make sure that it's being presented the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So again, I think having a consistent location and standard,
Yeah. It's cool.
because I can do all the work. I tend to divide coffee industry into 3 separate categories, right? You have growing and importing, right? Green coffee,
Yep.
the roasting, and then extraction, presentation. I can do both of these 2 steps flawlessly to the best of my ability, and it goes to the third, and it's just not brewed correctly. It's not extracted correctly. It's not presented the way that it should be. Everything else is for waste.
Yeah.
You know?
It is a unique thing about this industry. Coffee roasting and, you know, the brewery world and the coffee world, there's some like similarities, you know, like we care about like a good high quality product, and there's, you know, there's lots of other coffees that are, or lots of other coffees or beers that are kind of mass produced, you know, like the worlds, they sit kind of close to each other. But the unique thing is that a brewer, when they're done making it, they seal it and they bottle that can or bottle that beer. And when you crack it, as long as it's cold and it hasn't been, you know, heated or something, like, you know that product that comes out of that is going to be what you intend it to be.
Yep.
But for a coffee roaster, you just send this bean out into the world, hoping that they have an okay grinder,
Do us justice.
and hoping that the water's okay,
that their
and-
machine has been cleaned in the past year.
And then the decision around that coffee is often filtered, ironically, through whatever these other things are that you're doing at home.
It's out of your hands at that point. and
It's a real unique
yeah.
aspect of the business, but
Until we can figure out how to sell hot brewed coffee
I hate it already. I mean, like,
and keep it from going stale,
rancid and
or sour.
Yeah. Okay, Josh. I mean, speaking of coffee shops in Central Minnesota, and you grew up in the area, you don't have to look hard. It feels like the coffee shop game in Central Minnesota is rife with challenge. There have been there's so many coffee shops in the 20 plus years that I have been aware. You know, there have been so many coffee shops that have gone out of business in Central Minnesota. You know, why? I guess I know why you're jumping in. I jumped in for the same reasons, but how do we help make it better? You know, like how do we make it different? You know, it feels like in Minneapolis, or just in larger communities, small mom and pop coffee shops that are really trying to do something unique and special, they can survive in a different kind of way. How do we make good coffee sustainable? I don't mean it in the way that sustainable is often used in coffee, just like the actual functioning of a shop and the growing of small market coffee here. How do we continue to grow that?
I don't know if this is just like a Central Minnesota thing, but it's like we don't like change. I think that's a big part of it. It's trying to get the business owners to realize that, like, marginally per cup, you're not going to be spending that much more for quality, fresh roasted local coffee, whatever it may be. And I think that's a big hang up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's just getting out there more or less. And that's what I've seen. Like, I don't have a marketing budget, right? Like, the entire sales program that, like, I built this business on.
Here's a good cup of coffee.
Is I let the coffee speak for itself. Like, as long as it's being brewed properly, again. But that's what the main point of the mobile carts was. It's like, how, until I can get our own cafe space, how do I show people that this is the standard?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's like, it's just making sure that they can taste how you think it should be tasted as the roaster.
Yeah.
And then it clicks with them after that.
Yeah.
You know, the health benefits and not getting the gut rot or the heartburn or whatever it may be, the jitters when you have one too many cups. Like, that stuff it all comes with after getting them to latch on that, oh, wow, this is what coffee actually can be.
Yeah.
I think that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, commodity and convenience are a big.
Yeah. I think it's been interesting to watch in the last handful of years. I mean, when we built Kaeter, we built a drive-through, you know, but just forever coffee, you know, like coffee shops would have never thought about drive-throughs, really, at least not in our market out west. You know, that's the only thing that, you know, they're basically all drive-throughs. But, coffee was such a sit and stay kind of activity and product.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like the industry is changing so much. And do you push into that? Do you try to, ebb and flow with that? Or do you try to fight that?
Find a middle ground, I think, is probably the best.
Yeah.
But
and middle ground, it's a unique spot to try to fight for and to look for.
Right. Because even when you do that, like you have a drive-through, it's like, oh, sorry, it's not a fast drive-through.
Yeah.
That's
right.
the other thing. It's
We still
like,
have to make that.
Yeah. And we're gonna make it to a standard every time. So
yeah,
it's always
it's a unique thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think your coffee is wonderful, and having that in St. Joe will be a blast. Excited to come out. I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball on something. Man, I just need to get in my emails or something. I love going and holing up for a handful of hours in some other coffee shop. And so I'm excited to put, and I should have asked, are you calling it Eminent? Like you're just calling it the name of the roaster? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm so excited to throw Eminent into my little rotation there to places to go hide.
The route.
Yeah. Fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good time. I'm excited.
Yeah.
A lot to figure out,
For
obviously.
sure. Yeah, for sure. And, the coffee shop that you are in the first 6 weeks will be so different than the coffee shop you are in 6 months. And it'll be so different than what you are in 2 years. You'll for sure, just like in all things, you kind of ebb and flow and try to, figure it out and massage it as you go. But starting is just in general, like just start moving forward, start moving in the right direction. Then you can change it. It's easier to change direction of something that's moving
Then never start.
Someone
said that.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm excited that you're jumping in, and I'm eager to patronize your wonderful shop and drink some coffee there. Oh, the house.
Yes.
The other restaurants that are there.
Yes.
Are any of them breakfasty kinds of things, or will you kind of be open by yourself in the morning, or like how will that kind of work?
To start, I'm the entity, or not the entity, anomaly at this point in the building. And that's kind of the ongoing joke with like the team leads.
Yeah.
We got weekly meetings and everything, trying to get all this stuff together. And they're like, all right, time for the anomaly. Because I'm always just on the sidelines. But yeah, so as of right now, like, we'll be open coffee hours, early morning, mid-afternoon. The other restaurants
probably kick in about then.
I mean, St. Joe's peak hours in general are 4 to 10 at night.
Yeah.
So again, anomaly, right? A few of the other restaurants are already looking at breakfast stuff. I mean, one of them's ready to go right away.
It seems smart. Like if there's going to be a draw there for coffee, like throwing a breakfast sandwich on somebody's menu seems like a pretty sweet thing to do.
Or burritos. Which you guys are there.
Yeah. Yep.
And
will you
breakfast pizza?
Will you do?
That's going to be a.
And will you do any food yourself or?
Not myself. So it's maybe at a different location down the road.
Yeah.
Yours is down the road. But at that location, we're just going to be doing pastries. Top notch, by the way. And we can talk about the other people that are in there at this point. So the pastries will be coming from Flour and Flour.
Great.
Aaron and Mateo are doing the smash burgers.
Yep.
So yeah, she'll be doing all the pastries that we will be selling through the coffee bar. The Hawaiian Grill.
What is Hawaiian? Like what kind of food is that? Like what will?
I just looked at the menu the other day. But like poke bowls and like Hawaiian teriyaki chicken type stuff.
Sweet.
And then the wood fire pizza over in the corner.
Cool.
And I think those guys are ready to go with like a breakfast menu.
Yeah.
Like breakfast pizza, we need to get it rolling.
Sounds
we're
great.
like, let's just
I love a breakfast
open
pizza
and rolling. But yeah, it's a great team of people.
Yeah.
It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a good spot.
Really, really fun. Well, I'm super excited for you. I think it's gonna be great. It's gonna be delicious. And March, we'll keep a lookout here for the shop opening in March. Josh, on the podcast, we always do an unpaid advertisement. Is there someone, something, or some idea that you think deserves a little plug today?
I didn't change my mind from the beginning.
Great.
I'm going to say go outside, get in nature, whatever that may be, whether it's mountain biking, hiking, hunting if you're into that, fishing, whatever it may be. go outside, be in solitude if you can.
Yeah. Bring in your
think
phone. Look at your phone a lot.
Take pictures, otherwise people won't know you were there. No, I'm totally joking, but I've found that to be immensely helpful
Yeah.
as far as like mental health, clearing your head. You don't even have to be doing anything. Like I guess hiking is doing something, but just go walk out into the woods,
Yep.
into nature at a pretty lake, whatever it is. Just sit, look around at the beautiful world that we live in, and just be.
Yeah.
Just be. That's it.
And my unpaid ad for the day, when we're filming this, I'm not 100% sure when this comes out, but it's early December right now. This is my very favorite season of the entire year. I love that it's cold. Sorry, everybody. I love the feel of cold air in my lungs. I love Christmas carols. And I love having people over for Christmas meals, and there's just something so fun about this. And so I would say, everyone, you should enjoy some good hospitality this season and invite people into your home and into your life. Tonight, when I head home, I'm heading home to some new young friends who they're going to come over for dinner and be with my family. I think we're going to watch a Christmas movie tonight, and I'm eager and excited about that. So try to open your home up for people.
I love it.
Well, sweet. Josh, thankful you came on the podcast. I appreciate it. Seriously,
having
I
me.
am very excited to come and drink some good coffee at your new place.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to see the new faces and
Yeah.
the old.
Good. Well, sweet man, thanks for coming on.
Absolutely.